Hi everyone, my name is Margarita and I'm in Professor Krieger's online class for the Inclusive Learning and the Exceptional Child. Our assignment this week was to address at least 3 learning objectives in Chapter 5, which dealt with learning disabilities. And the first thing that the book starts to mention is that learning disabilities now have definitely become way more of a priority than they were in the past. Back then it was just sort of like a thing that people knew was happening, knew existed, but they didn't focus on it, especially not as much now with schools having different programs and certified teachers that deal exactly with those types of children. The first topic that I picked and I would like to talk about was number 3, which was state and explain some of the known causes of intellectual disabilities. So the first thing about intellectual disabilities is that they're not diagnosed until a student has experienced an academic problem at school or they're not progressing the same rate as their peers. So until a teacher starts to see it, there's not really any way you can tell if a child has a learning disorder, because it's just, there's no way to know until the child is in the classroom learning. And, most learning disabilities are identified in the early elementary years. That's when you can tell if a student is progressing the same as their peers or if they're a little bit behind, and it's just not at the exact expected rate as the class as a whole. So learning disabilities, they're categorized into 2 different parts. There's internal factors and there are external factors. Some internal factors are things organic, there's biological factors, and there's definitely genetic factors. And external factors are environmental factors. Sorry guys, I lost my train of thought. One of the main causes for a learning disability is brain damage or neurological damage. This is when there's a different in structure in the brain, different structures in symmetry. There's irregularities in the left side of the brain, which studies were done and showed that children with learning disabilities, their MRI testing showed that they had irregularities in the left side of their brains. There's also psychological factors that come into play. This can be malnutrition from a young age. It could be a biochemical imbalance. It can be something as simple as just a vitamin deficiency. It can be an allergy. And by allergy, it doesn't mean like being allergic to like a certain type of food or just like your seasonal allergies. It's talking about what's more chemical in the brain and how your brain works, how the 2 sides benefit each other, and oftentimes what's lacking on one side and doesn't quite make up for the other side. There are also factors. There is something called perinatal stress, which I found pretty interesting because I didn't think that that would be such a huge, I thought it would be a factor. I just didn't think that it would. There was so much research done that showed it could be one of the most common factors. And this is anything from traumatic events that could happen during birth. Prolonged labor. It could be from hypoxia. It could come from low birth weight. And it's something that is just it has to do with when the child is being born and any complications that happen during the time. While it is a main factor for a learning disability, it can't be a sole cause. There has to be other factors that come into play. A child can't have a learning disability just because of prenatal stress. External factors, ideas, and examples of this is the way of learning, a student's approach to learning, their level of support, and really interestingly, previous negative instruction, which I thought was actually really cool because this stems back from the child's, say a child is in 5th grade, let's take the 5th grade, and they're learning these new math skills. They can have an issue with learning because of how they were previously taught in another grade from another teacher. Maybe her way of teaching just didn't help the student out, or wasn't the exact way that student would learn, and that's kind of what they were stuck with, and that's what they had to get accustomed to, and they just couldn't quite grasp it. These are skills that can't be taught. It's just the disability is there, and you can teach skills that help with this, that kind of counteract that previous negative instruction. You can help a child learn a different way, teach them different learning skills that debunk their previous experiences. However, just learning new skills will not make the disability go away. A disability can't be removed just by teaching new skills to a child. Commonly, most learning disabilities have to do with genetics. They are now the most promising reason for learning disabilities is genetics, just simple genetics. The second topic that I wanted to talk about was number 4, and that was discuss some of the learning characteristics of individuals with intellectual disabilities. Okay, so obviously there are a few of intellectual disabilities and characteristics that come into play when we're talking about that. There's language. Language is spoken, is written, and it can also be behavioral, how a child behaves, how they look upon a certain situation, and how they go about it. There are psychological factors. This is listening, observing. This is classifying, remembering, evaluating, and imitating. These are all psychological reasons and characteristics that come into play with individuals with intellectual disabilities. There's cognition, which is pretty broad to say, but it's one of the biggest categories, and this is our way of thinking. This is how we learn. This is how we interpret information, and just how we go about different things. There's 5 different types of cognition, and there's perception, there's attention, there's memory, there's metacognition, and there is organization. The one that I wanted to focus on first was perception, because the way you perceive things it has a lot to do with how you go about learning, and that's very important when we're talking about a child with a learning disability. So perception is the ability to organize and interpret information. This can be anything from differentiating between different sounds, making relationships between patterns. It can be just how you look at a model of something, for example. And it's very easily recognized if a child has a perception problem, because the book does explain that they often mix up their letters, like, for example, B and D, or M and N. You know, the book, there was one sentence that was pretty interesting, I thought. It said that, you won't see, like, a child, saying fire truck, like, cur-if-ish, like, they're not gonna mix every single letter, like, it's not like Scrabble. But they will, for example, mix up a letter if there's a word and it has a B and a D, like, they might write it the opposite way, or they might pronounce it the wrong way. Same goes for M and N, because the way they perceive the sound of that letter doesn't match up with what it actually is. The second one I wanted to focus on was attention. This is the ability to receive and process information. This is one of the easiest ones. I think it is to look for in a child, especially if you're a teacher. You can definitely catch up on it. The child just can't stay on task. They're having problems with staying focused, or they're having problems with keeping their memory on a certain topic for too long. It's selective attention and selective memory. And for attention, there's actually a huge majority of children that are diagnosed with ADD and ADHD. I see it myself where I work at a preschool, and I see it myself with the 4-year-olds. Like, I know that kids, especially young kids, they tend to be, naturally in spirit more energetic and just all over the place. But you can tell when we're doing a lesson, the children who are able to sit and focus on the lesson, and the children who can't do that. And it's very easy to differentiate between that. It's not as prominent now. However, I do believe that when they move on to elementary school, their teachers will